All right, shalom, shalom. This is the brother Mayum coming at you from GMS Tampa Bay. First and foremost, I want to give all the praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruchah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders, apostles of Great Millstone. Much blessing and salutations to the Akim around the four corners of the earth who are diligently pushing out this truth and its truth and sincerity. And I just want to do a quick lesson, here in transit, going into the name of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Well, really the name of Yahweh Shai, but we say Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, the Lord, in the name of the only begotten Son Yahweh Shai. All right, whose true name is Yahweh Shai, not Jesus. All right, not Yahusha or whatever people want to say, but his true name, okay, the Messiah, is Yahweh Shai. Yah meaning he, Yahweh Shai meaning deliverer or salvation or save. He saves, which is what he was named after. Okay, that was the Omen Nomen, which Omen Nomen is names, the meaning of names. All right, so real quick, let's get that in Matthew's 1 and 21. All right, going into the meaning of his name. All right, this is Matthew's chapter 1 and verse 21. And she shall bring forth a son, speaking of Mary, and thou shalt call his name, and it says here in the English, all right, Jesus. All right, but we're going to go into it and we're going to prove that his name is not Jesus. All right, first and foremost, the letter J was not created until like the 1600s. And secondly, all right, the Greek form, if you wanted to go into the Greek, it would be Jesus. Okay, if you wanted to say anything close to what's actually written in the text, that being Jesus, the better way to say it in the Greek would be Jesus, because there was no letter J. Okay, so that's strike one on his name being Jesus. There were no letter J's in the Greek language and the Latin, neither in the Hebrew. Okay. So now, as I said, bear with me. This is in transit. So it says, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahweh Shai, for he shall save his people from their sins. Okay, he shall save his people from their sins. That's what Yahweh Shai is coming to do. That's what his name means. Okay. Now, when you go into this word, all right, for he shall save his people, let's go into the Hebrew, all right, and let's look up the word for save or deliver, all right, which is the same thing. All right, so let's go into Hosea, all right, chapter 1 and verse 1. Salakia. All right, and let's get the word there in that verse 1 for Hosea. Okay, and let's see what that word is in the Hebrew. All right, so here, Hosea, or in the Hebrew, you have Yahweh Shai. All right, Yahweh Shai. And then what does it mean? Again, this is in the Hebrew, Yahweh Shai. Hosea or Hoshea or Oshea equals salvation. Okay, family name of Joshua, the son of Nun. Keep that in mind. Okay, the family name of Joshua. Okay, now let's go down to the Strong's definition for Yahweh Shai, and it says deliverer. Okay, Hoshea, the name of 5 Israelites. Okay, salvation, the Hebrew Lexicon, welfare, salvation. Okay, so the name Yahweh Shai or Hosea, okay, which is Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew, means deliverer. And what did Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, come to do? To deliver his people, to save his people, right? So now it mentioned the name, and this is going to be a quick lesson. It mentioned the name Joshua, right? It said the family name of Joshua. So real quick, Let's go to Acts chapter 11. All right. And again, this is proving the true name of the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is his name here. Okay. Actually, Salakia, not Acts 11. Acts chapter 7. Come on now. Acts chapter 7. All right. And the verse that I'm getting into here, there's going into the history of Moses. All right. And his verse 45 is going to mention the story of the Moses' successor. Okay. Because Moses was not given the promise of actually being able to get into the land of Canaan that was promised unto Israel. He would be able to see it, but he would not be able to enter in onto it. But there were two individuals, Caleb and one other person, that went into that land with the rest of the children of Israel. Okay. And it's going to go into that account. So Acts chapter 7, I'll start at verse 44. Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness, as he had appointed, speaking unto Moses that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen. Right. And that was that portable temple that Moses was showing up in Mount Sinai, which is what he built in the wilderness, and they would be able to move around with the temple. All right, which was basically like a tent, so the tent setup. All right, but verse 45, it says, which also our fathers that came after brought in with, and I'm going to read it verbatim here for the King James Version, which also our fathers that came after brought in with Jesus unto the possession of the Gentiles, whom the Most High drave out before the face of our fathers unto the days of David. Now, who delivered the Israelites into the possessions of the Gentiles? Who brought in the Israelites into that land of Canaan? Well, let's read this verse 45 in the NLT. This is going to actually break it down to who is actually speaking of here in Jesus. All right, because if you're thinking of Jesus the Messiah, you're highly mistaken, because he never brought the Israelites into the possession of the Gentiles. The Israelites were already surrounded by the Gentiles during the time of Yahushua, or the Messiah. The Greeks had already been around. Then the Romans were basically running the show, all right, during the time of the Messiah. Okay, so we were in the possession of the Gentiles, not us possessing the land of the Gentiles, all right? So verse 45, years later, when Joshua, again, this is in the NLT, years later, when Joshua led our ancestors in battle against the nations that the Most High drove out of this land, their tabernacle was taken with them into their new territory, and it stayed there until the time of King David. So here is properly naming who this is speaking of, and that's Joshua. And so when you go into the history, into the Old Testament, who entered into the land of Israel, which would be known as the land of Israel, or the land of Canaan? It was Caleb and Joshua. Okay, so now let's go in here. Let's get matter of fact, let's just go into the Old Testament, because it's talking about Joshua, right? But it said it in the translation, it showed it as Jesus. So now let's get the name Joshua and see what the name Joshua means. So let's go to the book of Joshua, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now after the death of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun. All right. Moses' minister, saying. So now let's get the name Joshua here, and let's see what this name means. Because remember, we got Hosea, or Hoshea, which meant what? A deliverer. Hawashai. And Joshua was written here because when you go into that Acts 7 and 45, when you actually go into the word for Jesus there in the blue letter, what comes up is Joshua. So now let's get the Hebrew meaning of the word of the name Joshua. Joshua, or Yahawashai. It says here Yahweh is salvation, or they have it written Jehovah is salvation, which again, that's not the name of the Lord. The name of the Lord is Yahweh. He is. All right, but Joshua translates to Yahawashai. It's a compound word of two different words, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father's name, and Hawashai, which we got back in Hosea, meaning deliverer. So the Lord saves, or he saves. Remember, Yahweh's name is he is. So Yah, he, Hawashai, deliverer. He delivers, he saves. That's what his name was given in Matthew's chapter 1, right? It said, because he will save his people. Let's get that again. Let me go down here to the Hebrew Lexicon. And actually, I'll make that the screenshot. All right. This is for Joshua, and it has it here, Yahawashai. Okay, you have Yahawashai, which they throw in that Y at the end. All right, but it shouldn't be there. It should be Yahawashai. Okay, which means deliverer. Okay, Yahweh saves. He saves. Okay, which Yahweh through Yahawashai has delivered the Israelites. Okay, Yahawashai already got the victory over death, so that we may enter in onto that promise, that new covenant. We're just now waiting for that deliverance to take place on the earth. But now let's go back to that Matthew's 1, because remember, Joshua, he saves, or Yahweh is salvation, right? It said Jehovah is salvation. So now let's go back to this Matthew's chapter 1 and verse 21 and read this again. And we're going to get that blue letter again for the name Jesus there. So Matthew's 1 and 21, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, which now we know is Yahawashai, for he shall save his people from their sins. So now let's get that name there for Jesus, which again, that's not his name. His name is Yahawashai. So it says here what? The outline of biblical usage, Jesus equals Jehovah is salvation. Yahweh is salvation, which was what? Joshua. So really, if you want to call the Messiah by an English version, it would be Joshua. But what is Joshua in the Hebrew? Yahawashai. All right? Yahawashai. That is the Messiah's name, man. That's who we're going to receive salvation through by the Heavenly Father. Through Yahawashai. That's why we say Yahweh Bahashim Yahawashai. Okay? Because that is his name, man. Yahawashai. That's why we don't call on Jesus. And if you are, you need to stop calling on that name. Okay? Because that's been an image. That name has an image tied to it that is a false image, man. That is a false Messiah. All right? And if you're calling yourself a follower of Yahawashai, okay, or a Christian, right, then you should be following you have to know who you're following. And his correct name is Yahawashai, man. So if you want to call yourself being a follower of any of the Messiah, you need to be calling on Yahawashai, Yahweh Bahashim, in the name Yahawashai, the Heavenly Father, in the name of his only begotten Son Yahawashai. That's who you should be calling upon if you're saying you are a Christian, right? So let's get that real quick. Acts chapter 11, because only Israelites can be Christians, okay, by nature, okay. Through, and again, Israelites being the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and then wherever our people were scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, only the true Israelites of the Bible will follow and believe and call upon the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Those are the only people that can follow. Those are the sheep that were called. My sheep shall hear my voice. The whole world wasn't called to serve the Lord. He came to save his people. That's a possessive phrase. Who was he the people of? Of the nation of Israel. Why? Because both his parents were of the lineage of David, which was the prophecy for him to come. Was through the seed of David. And what was David the tribe of? Of the tribe of Judah. One of the 12 tribes of Israel. How about that? So he came to save his people. Okay, and only his people, his sheep, my called, as it talks about in Isaiah 49. Let's get that real quick. Again, Salakia, bear with me. I'm trying to get this while I drive. This is Isaiah chapter 48 and verse 12, right to the point, it says, "Hearken unto me, O Jacob and Israel, my called. I am he, I am the first, I also am the last." You see? "O Jacob and Israel, my called." It didn't say the whole world. It didn't say all nations. All right? It didn't mention Ishmael. It didn't mention Edom. It didn't mention Moab. It didn't mention Ham. Okay? It only mentioned Jacob and Israel, to whom pertaineth the adoptions and the promises and the giving of the covenants. So the promises, the covenants, the new covenant, all right, the mercy, the grace is only given unto the nation of Israel, who the Messiah, Yahushua, came to save, to deliver. And he's coming to deliver us here very soon in these last days, man. First, he's going to gather up his elect, those that followed him in the regeneration in the last days. And he's going to save the rest of you Israelites. You're going to be born into the kingdom of heaven through the mercy and the grace. Even though you lived a wicked life, you're still going to be partakers and of the promises in the kingdom to come. Okay. So now let's go back. Let's finish this Acts 11 and 26. "And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch." I'll read verse 25. "Then departed Barnabas to Tarsus for to seek Saul. And when he had brought him, or found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch." So who were the disciples? The Israelites, the sheep of the Lord, the ones that were called to serve the Lord, okay, to go out here and to spread his word. They were first called Christians, okay? So the true Christians that the Bible speaks of are the followers of Yahushua, okay? Those that are spreading his word to the four corners of the earth, man. All right? So Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua are the true names of the Heavenly Father and his only begotten Son. Through them, through those names and only those names, will we receive salvation, okay? And only Israel has been called to serve and believe and trust in those names. All right. So with that, Lord's with us was edifying. I want to give all praises and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Yahweh, Bahashim Rakha HaKodash. Double honor to the elders, apostles of Great Millstone, and much blessing and salutations unto the Akim around the four corners of the earth, who are diligently pushing out this truth and this truth and sincerity. And with that, I say Shalom.